Welcome back. It's Captain Scott. Today we're going to sail the boat from Cologne to Linton Bay with maybe a stop in Porto Bella along the way. It depends on the wind. The wind is supposed to swing to northwest, and it's not looking good. It looks like it's going to be right on the nose. If that's the case, then we'll just go to Porto Bella, which is only about 15 miles away from where I am now. And we haven't run the boat in a while, so we're going to make sure everything works, because it's not unusual for a boat to have things break just sitting on land or sitting at the pier. So we'll check that out, and we'll have a nice sail or a motor depending on how it goes. But either way, we're going to end up at somewhere really nice today. So thanks for coming along. So we're headed over to San Blas. We've just exited the main breakwater in Cologne. The wind's on the nose, pretty much straight on the nose. It was supposed to be north-northwest, but the seas aren't too bad. They're a little rough, but it's only 25 miles from here, so it should be about 5 or 6 hours. We should be there. And Linton Bay is our first stop. There's the breakwater right there that we just went through. It's a little bit of a washing machine as the waves hit the breakwater. They kind of reflect back out into the ocean. So we're getting waves coming in this direction and then back from behind us because they hit the breakwater and reflect back. So it's a little bit sloppy. But other than that, it's pretty nice. I haven't been sailing in 3 months. I'm really glad to be back out on the water. I needed this. We only have, I don't know, what are they? Maybe 4 or 5 foot waves, so not bad at all. Not bad at all. So I'm hoping that this wind will come around more to the northwest. The weather prediction software down here has not been that great in terms of the wind direction. So I think I have to go old school and just put my finger up in the air. Woo! And then when the wind's blowing the right direction, that's when I go. So if you like the video, if you'll click subscribe and click the thumbs up, it'll help us make more videos. So I'll check in another little while. So we're going to change course. We're going to go into Porto Bella, which is closer than Linton Bay. Mainly because I'm just motoring straight into the wave and the wind. And Porto Bella is a nice little port. Got a nice spot to do some snorkeling, drop the anchor. I've got a little issue with the roller furler that I just redid. So I've got to check that. And then we'll just get up tomorrow and we'll pull up the sails and keep going. So we're coming into Porto Bella. Right now we're about an hour out, about 5 miles out. And we'll be slipping through this little slot right up here. And it's all kind of little mountains coming out of the haze. We've got the staysail going, but the roller on it is not working properly, so I'll check that out. And then I'm glad I decided to go to Porto Bella because we've got some strange noise coming out of the engine. And while I've sailed most of my career with at least one other very experienced sailor, and most of the time with say 3 or 4, this is Kind of the first time I've sailed on my own. I mean, I've sailed out from the U.S. to the Bahamas on my own and sailed over here, but it's really the first time in my life I've been sailing in the ocean by myself, and I can tell you, it's a lot more stressful than when you've got 1 or 2 or 3 other very experienced sailors on the boat. And I'm sailing a 55-year-old boat, and oh man, it's a little stressful. Not horrible, but had a little bit of nervousness going on just because of the engine. I don't want it to overheat, so I've slowed it down. So I'm kind of motor sailing with it right now, and we'll get into Porto Bella, and I'll drop the anchor, and I'll look at the roller furling, and I'll check out the engine. The engine sounds fine right now, but earlier it sounded like maybe a bearing was going bad. And normally, if that's the case, the bearings, if they go bad, they just keep making noise. So if I'm lucky, it's maybe one of the belts, maybe one of the water pump belts is a little bit loose or something, but it's not making noise now. I'm running about 4.5 knots coming in here. So I'll get a chance to figure it out, but it's much more difficult as one person because you're trying to navigate along a coast where there's reefs and you're by yourself. So it's definitely a little more nerve-wracking than if I had someone else at the helm. I could go check on the engine and spend 15 or 20 minutes doing that. Here I've got to figure out, I can't just stop the boat because I'm close to shore. I'm just a couple miles from shore, maybe 2 miles from shore, and it's all reefs, so I can't just go down below and fiddle with things. So if something really happened, I would turn the boat around and go downwind and away from the shore, and let the boat sail out to the ocean. And then I just figure out, I'd work on whatever I need to work on. That's kind of my exit plan if there's a real problem. But fortunately right now everything's kind of settling down. So I'll check back in just a little bit. So this is coming into Porto Bella. I know it's kind of cloudy, but it's very pretty. I love these little, I can't really call them mountains, but they're certainly big hills. And we'll be going in that little slot right up there, and it's a place to anchor. There's a few islands over here. So here's Porto Bella coming in. We'll go in. There's a couple anchorages that we'll check out. Fishing boat over there. Awfully pretty. Here's part of the old fort over here. And I guess this is the little town over here. It looks like they're restoring the church. But really beautiful little spot. There's an old fort up here on this hill. We're going to look for a little spot to anchor that has some breeze, and it's about 50 feet right here deep, so I'm looking for about 10 to 15 feet, not run up on this reef that's up here. It's beautiful. There's an anchorage over there. We may go check that out. So the anchor's down, time to shut the motor off. Woo! So we had I had that problem with the sail where it wasn't rolling back up correctly, so I have to figure out what's going on with that because I really need it to be able to roll up. I don't want to drop it, but I can drop it on the deck, which is what I did. So I kind of motor sailed in here and then dropped the sail. So I'll fix that. But while we were motoring, I started getting this squeaky noise, almost like the bearings in the engine were bad. Sometimes that means maybe the belts are loose. I'm not sure which, so I'll take some time and figure it out. But meanwhile, our friends from Chile, Brandon and Florencia, are on this boat, and he originally sailed to Antarctica and met her there, and they got married and they've got 2 kids, and they're going to sail up towards Canada, and they're going to get another boat, and they're going to do the Northwest Passage in between Canada and the Arctic, and then they'll come out Washington State or Alaska, and then come down the west coast of North America, and then do the west coast of South America and go all the way back to Chile. So, and it's a family of 4, so they got 2 kids on board, and they're just cruising. So I respect that a lot. But look at this. It's a beautiful little cove back here. I mean, it's not a sunny day. We got a boat up on the reef. This is the hub. It's not unrolling correctly. I'll get that figured out. And then there's a boat moored here, and that's the ocean out there. So not a bad spot to stop. We'll get this stuff sorted out, and then we'll head out. And this is nice about cruising, because you get these little short hops where you can have stuff break and find a safe harbor to get into and drop the anchor. And there's nothing like being able to drop the anchor in a safe harbor. Now, fortunately, I didn't have to do it in a storm. We're in about 40 feet of water. We've got about 120 feet of line out right now, chain. So it's more than enough to hold us. But so I'm going to get to work and get this sail sorted out. One of the things I want to talk about is a thing called overwrap. If you see this is called a rope clutch. This locks the line. Often you'll have that in front of a winch like that. Now on my roller, I don't have it. It just comes in. I haven't added the hardware in here yet for it, so I've been tying it off here, which is kind of a temporary solution, obviously. But when it wasn't rolling, I wrapped the line around here. But what can happen if you're not careful, if the line gets in there incorrectly, it'll wrap like that. And if you have 2 wraps, you can't get it off. Like, it's tight, and I was cranking on it with the winch, so I had double wraps right here, and you can't get it off. So one of the most important things I think that you can do is to carry a rigging knife. So I carry one, and because sometimes if you get a line stuck and it's under high pressure, I carry this pocket knife with me at all times, so I can just cut the line with the knife and boom, relieve the tension. Because if you have an emergency and a line gets stuck, you're gonna have to run back inside the boat, get a knife, come back up and cut the line. But it's really critical when you're cruising to have a rigging knife. This has a marlin spike on it. It's got a screwdriver. It has a little tool here for undoing shackles. So really a rigging knife like that. Now it also has a bottle opener and a few other little tools. But it's critical to have something like this. And I keep it in my pocket with this little lanyard on it, just so if I need it, I just pull it out. I don't have to dig around for it. But that's really important, because it does happen. You get overwrap on these things and then you can't release it. And it's normally, if you catch it early, you can release it, but a lot of the times you can't. So, and then what I typically do when I'm done with the line, this is the main halyard, I run it through the rope clutch, or run it around here, and then lock the rope clutch, just so you have double locking. But I wanted to show you that. Well, that's our trip for today. So we did a 15-mile trip. We had a few things go wrong, but here we are, anchored in a beautiful anchorage, and I think I'm going to have a glass of wine, and we'll see how the rest of the day goes. If you like it, please click the thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed, if you will click the subscribe button, it'll help us to make more videos. Until next time, thank you.